Good morning. Today we'll having a discussion on ward round scenario. Dr. Ishita Laha, who is a third year junior researcher at RKM for this term, will present, and Dr. Orko Rai, who is assistant professor of surgery at Calcutta Medical College, will take us through the scenario. Dr. Ishita,
Yes.
we are putting the scenario. You read it and wait for the discussion with Dr. Orko Rai and me.
Okay, sir.
The scenario is here. You just read the scenario. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just read. Read loudly for others.
45-year-old gentleman underwent resection anastomosis following penetrating trauma to the small bowel. Post-op day 2, the abdomen was distended with serous discharge from the wound.
Yes. Yeah. Dr. Gaurav, second post-op day, patient is having some serious discharge.
Okay, so you are having seen the patient in the second post-op day. Some serious discharge is coming from the wound. So what thing should strike in your mind first?
Firstly, we will check the patient's vitals, as in the pulse, if the patient is running any temperature, if the patient is having any tachypnea, and after that, when we open the wound on the second post-op day, so serous discharge from the wound, sir, it is, and if there is a vein placed, sir, it is not abnormal, sir. The serous discharge can come out in the second post-operative day.
Yes, after 48 hours, it is not unusual to have serious discharge from the wound. But one thing, what
And
are the
sir,
other thing? Abdomen was distended. Even after 48 hours, abdomen was distended.
sir, there can be, sir, post-operative ileus or some obstruction which we have missed during the laparotomy. So, and in addition with it, if there is a pinkish serosanguinous discharge and relevant discharge which is not decreasing, then we can think of some. Firstly, we will think of any surgical site infection, and we open up the stitches. Then, with a gloved finger, we feel if the sheath has given away. So,
No. Ishita, don't open up the suture in the what in the abdominal wound lesions. You try to understand.
In first 48 hours.
You try to understand. The point is, you said serious discharge is not uncommon in second post-op day. But if I ask you another question in different way, you heard of abdominal wound lesions.
Yes, sir.
At what time interval the wound lesions can occur?
Sir, wound lesions usually occurs from day 4 to day 6, sir.
It can happen. It can happen from first post-op day to even the common day is about 8 to 10 day. So even if the first post-op day, there may be an incidence of early wound lesions. So you should not pass on this serious discharge as normal in all cases. We have to exclude underlying wound lesions. So as you started that, Dr. Rai has asked you what comes in your mind. There are two scenarios here. One is patient abdomen distended, and second is patient is serious discharge. So your idea will be to look for why is it distension? Is it because of a mechanical obstruction or because of ileus, number one, or it is because of some abdominal collection. So there are three important possibilities. Second is serious discharge. As you said, serious discharge may be common in second post-op day following a laparotomy for perforated peritonitis. But one should consider some pathological conditions like wound lesions, like anastomotic leak. Okay? Yeah, Dr. Rai.
Now, what will you do now?
We will from
Just one thing. You have told that you will remove the stitches. You should not do it.
We will take the
First,
culture sensitive
anything else you can do.
culture from the also.
Yes, past culture you can take, but serious fluid, okay. Next, any Anything?
Sir, then we will take we will see for if any blood requisition is there or not, and immediately shift the patient to operative theater.
In 48 hours is not mandatory to shift the patient to operation theater, because it is
Sir,
not
if the vitals are not stable alongside.
only wound dehiscence in the first 48 hours is not enough to take the patient to operation theater and remove the stitches of the abdomen and go for the repair. It is not done.
Sir, if
Ishita,
it is
Ishita, Ishita, if I ask you a
fully
question, Ishita, if I ask a question in a different way, you are the new resident, and second post-op day, you are in the ward with this finding. How to proceed? Just tell us the brief outline of approaching this patient, knowing only this part of the scenario. What you should do? Just you have answered earlier, but make it more systematic. That means on second post-op day, you being a new resident and you are being shown the scenario, how do you proceed?
Sir, we will send. So firstly, we will send the pus culture from the wound,
No, no, no.
and then
Don't send a past. No, no, no. I told you, you are a new resident, you are in front of the patient. First job is not to send the pus culture. First job is to assess the patient. Yes, you are in the second post-op day. You don't know what happened on the first post-op day. You don't know what was the details of the operative finding. You don't know what was the surgical points. So at this stage, you are supposed to assess the patient. And assessment will include what?
the
Detailed
general
history about
survey,
the
and and to know about the operation undertaken,
yes.
and for
So
the
many things,
reason
so many
the
things are
operation
important. You
affected.
see, so many things are important. Patient has got a penetrating trauma and it was in emergency surgery. And the time gap, the time the trauma
From the
has occurred
trauma to
and
the
the surgery.
opening up of the abdomen.
Yes. So this time, this is all important. The point he came to the hospital, you have the hospital records. So you should review what was the patient's status on arrival. And when he was taken up for surgery, what was his status? Whether
Whether
the
there was
patient has got,
peritonitis or not.
yes, whether the patient has got any comorbid conditions. Okay, these are all important in this patient. And next, you review the operation note. What is the operative finding?
So the incision also is important, sir. The incision
Yes,
given.
yes. So
And
operation note is important. So review the operation note. Once you have done this, now you come to the patient assessment. The assessment will be including, you said, you assess the vitals, number one.
yes,
Second is assess the abdomen. What do you look for in the abdomen in this patient? What do you look for in the abdomen?
so we look for the distension, and
Yes.
then we try and hear, and then we check for if there is if there is collection in the drain. In an emergency surgery, we tend to give uh, one abdominal drain. So we look for collection in the drain, and sir, we look maybe sir Riles tube is also there in the patient.
No,
So
no,
we
no.
look for
You
Riles
are,
tube
you are, you are
collection.
missing. You are missing. I asked you what you look in the abdomen itself. One you said is distended. Second is
This
you
is
should look for
peristaltic
any guarding, tenderness. They're all important. If the patient has got an underlying collection, which may be infected collection, patient will be tenderness. There will be rigidity in
and
addition to
rebound
distension.
tenderness.
Okay. You listen to the bowel sounds, patient may have a
Yes.
mechanical obstruction. So you do a complete abdominal assessment and then go for the drain and the Riles tube. And then review the chart, input-output chart. On second post-op day, you are supposed to review the input-output chart lying with the patient.
Yes, yes, sir.
See what he has received in the last 24 hours, what is the output, whether he is having a optimal urine output or not. So this is how you assess. And
Urine
now you
output-
have a, yes, Dr. Rai.
Sir, urine
And
output is
sir,
also is an essential, because you are having a scenario of abdominal distension in the first 48 hours. So if you think that pulse is normal but urine output is less, then one thing you also think that whether there is any abdominal compartment syndrome or not. That is also important in the second post-op day, because normal pulse rate with reduced urine output in distended abdomen in emergency setup may rise to abdominal compartment syndrome. Now next, what are the investigations now you like to send or like to do?
So we will like to go for a complete blood count, and sir, alongside the urea creatinine of the patient, and even the sodium potassium, because in case of low potassium can sometimes lead to paralytic ileus. And sir, one straight X-ray, we will go for a straight X-ray abdomen to look for any another perforation which we may have missed. And alongside, sir, if fast is possible, then we will do one fast or a ultrasound whole abdomen.
I think if you have the facility of CT scan abdomen, you can do it also.
Yeah. Now, as you are discussing the vast abdomen, now I'll give you a scenario. On abdominal examination, you find that it seems the guard is lying in the subcutaneous plane. You feel that
Full
that's
thickness abdominal dehiscence.
no, the skin is intact. You cannot see the
Skin
guard.
is intact.
Okay, means
The skin
concealed
is
bust abdomen.
what is that called as?
The
You
concealed bust abdomen.
concealed bust abdomen. So you feel on palpation that
We
possibly
can
a
feel the
guard lying
bowels
between the
movement.
skin. Yeah. So now that is the scenario. Now you made a impression that this patient has got a concealed bust abdomen as early as 48 hours of the post-op period. So if that is the scenario, how to proceed now? You suspect that patient has got underlying bust abdomen, which is concealed.
Sir, this patient, sir, we have to take him to the operative theater and redo the surgery, sir.
The first is
With
resuscitation.
sir, tension band wiring.
No, wait. Again, there are a lot of controversy with tension band worry.
So
So,
first we will check the vitals of all the patients and then the abdomen, and then we will do some investigations and then only we proceed. But we do it in a very fast, means as fast as possible.
okay. Before we go to the management, let us discuss some points about the factors for wound dehiscence. What do you mean by burst abdomen? What do you mean by the term burst abdomen?
Sir, it is a full thickness abdominal dehiscence with bowel and omentum coming out from the bone.
You need not use the term full thickness. As you said, burst abdomen may be concealed. So, burst one is defined as partial or complete dehiscence of the abdominal wound. Here, it can be either partial or full thickness dehiscence of a post-op abdominal wound. That is burst abdomen. Okay. Can you tell us the important risk factors or producing factors for this burst abdomen?
Sir, again, starting from the history, sir, it depends on the amount of time gap between the event and the operation, and then the incision given for the operation,
Wait,
whether
don't
it is
jump,
a midline.
don't jump. First is you said pre-op. What are the important pre-op? Pre-op, I will also include the host factors. What are the important host factors which are predisposing to the burst abdomen?
Sir, if the patient is already patient factors, sir, if the
Yes.
patient is immunocompromised,
Yes.
if the patient is, if the underlying operation has been done for any cancer or any perforation from the cancer side, and if the patient is diabetic, and if the patient is already has some respiratory problem like COPD,
Yes.
and then
A
sir,
patient is
from
having jaundice.
yes,
Patient having hypoproteinemia.
and hypoproteinemia. Yes.
Okay. Anemia.
Hmm.
Anemia.
Yes, sir. Anemia is also there.
So the important factors are pre-op, patient factors, and the disease factors.
Disease factors. Yes, sir.
Okay. What are the important intraoperative factors which may lead to wound dehiscence?
Sir, intraoperative factors includes the starting from the incision, sir, whether it is a midline incision or paramedial incision given, and whether Sir, depends on the type of anastomosis. If it is end-to-end anastomosis, side-to-side anastomosis is preferred
Side
over
to side, end to end or side to side anastomosis does not dictate bust abdomen. The important is the incision, like a vertical incision or transverse incision.
Yes,
What is
sir,
it?
vertical or paramedial incision.
No. Vertical or paramedial, both are vertical.
Uh,
The point is
vertical
against
and-
wound dehiscence is a transverse incision or vertical incision.
yes, yes.
Why do you think the dehiscence is more?
Sir, vertical incision, the dehiscence is more, sir.
Okay. Then the
Then-
technique of closure.
Yes, sir. If it is a en masse closure or a layered closure.
Yes. In which condition you think that dehiscence is less?
Sir, en masse closure dehiscence is less.
And then continuous suture versus
And
interrupted
sir,
suture.
the suture material used. Pardon, sir.
Continuous versus interrupted suture.
Yes, continuous versus interrupted suture means suture technique and the suture material used.
Where you consider the bastard is more in a continuous
Sir,
suture or
continuous suture, sir, the fascia is means the dehiscence is more, sir. And sir,
and then you say suture material.
suture material. Sir, delayed absorbable suture is used best. And sir, the placement of drain, if the placement, whether it is from the main wound or
is suture length important?
Yes, sir. Suture length is also important, sir.
How?
Sir, it should be 4 times the length of the wound.
What is that rule called as?
Sir, Jenkins rule.
Jenkins rule. So you should not pull the thread too much. You should use at least 4 times the suture required for this length of the wound closure. Okay, intraoperative.
Yes, and sir, whether the placement of drain, whether it is coming out from the main wound or using another stab wound by the side.
What are the post-op factors?
The post-operative, sir, sir, depends on the hydration status of the patient, and sir. That depends on hypoalbuminemia and
Post-op factors. What are the important post-op factors? Post-op cough, post-op vomiting,
post-op cough, hiccups,
post-op respiratory distress,
yes,
post-op abdominal distension. Okay, they are important post-op factors which can lead to dehiscence. Okay.
Yes.
So, Dr. Rai, you can continue. So we have discussed the factors for wound dehiscence: pre-op, post factors, surgical factors, the technique, and the post-op.
So you have done all the investigations. Now coming to it's Sarah has told you that is a subcutaneous that is concealed burst abdomen. Now you can tell me what is the exact day of burst abdomen?
Sir, from day 2 to day 10, sir, as sir discussed before.
No, it's not day 2. That is wound dehiscence. Actually, burst abdomen we should think of from 6 to 10 days. Okay. So, what is the clinical findings? What is the inspectory findings in case of burst abdomen?
Sir, the abdomen is distended, and sir, we can see, sir, abdomen is distended, and we can see bowel and omentum coming out from the wound. That is the inspectory findings, sir. Means the sheath has given away and the sutures have also given away.
So first of all, you should have a doubt when there is a pinkish discharge.
Okay.
Number 2, you find that there is a breach in the skin sheath and also the maybe peritoneum, and gut can be felt. And sometimes the whole gut can be soon peeping out from the wound. So it is now 7th week post-op day. You have seen that there is a burst abdomen. So now what should you do?
First, we will immediately we will close the wound with a moist dressing, and then we prep him to take to the OT.
So before
So
that,
actually, I'm not getting what what is being asked.
because
Means-
it's now 7th post-op day, you have seen that is a burst abdomen patient. What should you do? You have inspected the findings. Now, what will be the management of the patient? Just tell me.
So management will include sending some investigations, sir, as in a complete blood count and electrolytes, and sir, urea creatinine, and alongside, sir, after that we will reserve one blood uh, and then we take the patient to theater.
Okay. So after stabilizing the patient and having the minimum basic investigation down, you take the patient to theater. So what are the operation you will perform now?
Sir, we take up the firstly we give a thorough NS wash, and after a thorough NS wash, sir, we check for if any anastomotic leak is there, and if there is no anastomotic leak, we must not we give a thorough NS wash, we give an anastomotic leak, we see for any feculent discharge in the abdomen, and we put drains, and then we close with a full thickness, we close it with rubber tubes, means tension band wire.
Now, one thing I want to tell you that it is a 7th or 8th post-op day abdomen. So we just have a loop for the anastomotic leak, but we should not do too much, because the bowel
There
will be
can be
detritus. There will be chances of
iatrogenic leak.
iatrogenic injury. So you do little, very little, keep a proper wash. Put it, if there is a drain, you should not dislodge it, and you go for a tension suture. So what are the different techniques of closure of the?
Sir, for bust abdomen, sir, we do only one technique, sir. We take a full thickness with silk, sir. We take a full thickness abdomen, full thickness wound, and then we insert rubber tubes as I have seen our professors performing it with the infant feeding tube, and then closing it
Okay, Ishita,
away from the midline.
Ishita, as a PG student, you have to review the recent literature also. This is what you are doing for a long time, is a conventional way of wound closure. But now if you go to the literature, you'll find that this type of closure is not routinely recommended. Why? What you are doing is you are taking long bites and putting the abdominal wound closer in mass with a rubber band. What is the problem of this closure? What is the problem of this closure? The most important problem is you can create intra-abdominal hypertension and abdominal compartment syndrome. And this suture also can cut through. So this tension band suturing is not universally recommended now.
Okay, okay, sir.
Okay, so you have to know the other concepts also. One is this, as you said we only do this. We are not only allowed to do this technique because this is a technique which has been criticized. So what are the other options? Dr. Rai has asked you. What are the other options? One is mass closure with tension band suturing. What are the other options for abdominal wall closure?
Sir, like we close the wound in the main, like we close in the primary event, sir, closing the abdominal sheath en masse and then closing the skin.
What is the technique? You tell us some. You see, in literature, you'll find there are different techniques of this closure. There is another important technique that has come from AIMS. What they are recommending is you close the abdomen with far and near sutures. You know what is far and near suture?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
Sir, we take it 0.5 centimeter away from the main edge, and then, sir, we close it by horizontal mattress.
So far near is a different type of suturing. You start on one side from the far, away from the margin of the linea alba, exit close to the linea other side, and then take an entry on the other side close to the linea alba, and take an exit on the other side away from the linea alba. So this is far and near suture. It has been claimed that if you give far and near suture, the chance of dehiscence is less. And there are a lot of studies. There are a lot of studies where people are using. Is there any role of using mesh in bust abdomen closure?
Using, sir?
Mesh.
Mesh.
Yes, sir. If we cannot,
When?
if we cannot
Eh?
oppose the wound, sir, we can put a mesh, sir.
No, that is not the answer. Even if you can oppose the wound,
It will be tensionless, sir, if we put mesh.
even if you can close the abdominal wound, it can reinforce. You can reinforce the closure with placement of a mesh. But again, the mesh is subject to other questions like when you would not put mesh. When you would not put mesh.
Sir, if there is a feculent peritonitis, means in class 3 or class
Not
4.
only feculent, not only feculent. If you have gross, one of the important, more than 50% cases of abdominal dehiscence is actually abdominal intra-abdominal infection. So if intra-abdominal infection, you should not put a mesh. But again, there are some biological mesh. People have tried using biological mesh on the background of infection also. But routine placement of mesh is not recommended in closure of the abdominal wall. What are the other options apart from taking the patient to theater straight away? Is there a role for conservative treatment in these patients?
So before that,
Yeah.
I want to
Yes.
add one
Yes.
thing.
Yes, doctor.
Nowadays, the technique of component separation is also somehow is employed, because they are telling it that is TI incision, that is incision over internal TIE incision, that is on external oblique. So you can give, if you have if the time permits, the patient's condition is good and there is not so much of contamination, then you can give some lateral incision from that external oblique, internal oblique, even in Schaub's carpus, so that you can gain extra length. That is also, there is some studies that is also done.
Yeah. So closure may be achieved with component separation also. If you sustain patient has got a tension and you cannot close the wound, there is a role for doing component separation. So there are different techniques of closure. It's not only one you are doing the tension bend suturing is the only answer. No. There are a lot of other options for abdominal wall closure. And there are some situations where you should do a conservative situation. When? What are the other options?
What Sarava asked, that what is the role of conservative management?
So there is a sir, there is a little role in conservative management. Sir, in case of full thickness wound dehiscence, where there is no evisceration of the bowel and momentum, sir, we may go for conservative management.
No. Don't comment that a very little role for conservative. There are distinct groups. If you go to the standard descriptions, you will find the options for wound dehiscence repair is number 1, conservative. Number 2 is delayed repair. Number 3 is you use NPWT and then consider repair. And fourth option is don't do anything at the primary stage. Let the patient develops an incisional hernia and go for hernia repair after about 6 to 12 months. You understand? So these are the 4 options. It's not that conservative treatment is not described. There are situations. Yeah.
Sir,
These are the, yes.
Yes. Sir, we can go for conservative conservative therapy only when, sir, there is a layer of peritoneum over it. Otherwise, sir,
No. We are discussing bust abdomen. The whole wound has dehisced. You see, if you find a patient, try to understand, there are a lot of scenarios which will dictate your management. You find a patient who has got a wound dehiscence and you find the bowel is lying free, no adhesions, not much of pus discharge. Patient is stable. He is the ideal candidate for taking to the theater and go for a primary closure. You understand? This is a situation where you do primary closure straight away to the theater. Second, patient is disease very poor. patient is nutritionally not preserved, patient has hypotension, patient is anemic, patient is hyperproteinemic, you take the patient theater, this is going to break down. So he is not a candidate for being taken to the theater. You find the bowels are adherent. The bowels are adherent to the parietes. There is frank peritoneal infection. There is no role for going for primary closure. You know about temporary closure of the abdomen?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes.
How is that done? Temporary
Uh,
closure?
Sir, with the sir, it can be with a zipper technique or sir, a Bogota bag technique.
Yes. So these are all options. You should. These are the different. One is, as I said, patient has got a concealed bust abdomen. Patient is otherwise preserved. You can go for primary closure straightway, or you can wait and let the patient develop initial hernia. You repair later on. So what I'm saying is, these are the different options. What is the role for NPWT in bust abdomen? What is the role for NPWT in bust abdomen?
Sir, it helps the wound shrink, sir. It causes macrovascular and
You
microvascular.
cannot use this in all circumstances. There are specific circumstances where you use this NPWT. If the bowel is protruding out of the wound, can you use NPWT?
No, sir.
You cannot use. So it's a complete dehiscence with underlying bowel being adherent with the parietes, and there is frozen abdomen. In frozen abdomen, if you go for surgery, you do more damage than what damage has already occurred.
Yes.
So in
Yes.
that case, how the NPWT helps you?
Sir, I'm afraid I don't know the answer.
If the patient has got a difficult abdomen, the abdomen is having gross adhesions, there is some internal infections, there is discharge. In that case, taking the patient to the theater and doing a closure is not feasible. In that case, you have to go for a temporary closure. That means you can use a bag, you can use a mesh to cover the defect, and then you do a zipper closure, whatever. And then once the patient condition improves little, you can go for NPWT therapy. How does it help? What is the principle of NPWT therapy in open abdomen?
Sir,
One is causing wound contraction.
so wound contraction, sir, and macrovascular deformity.
Yes. So this gap will gradually be lesser and lesser. And once this gap has lessened,
And we
and
can
now
go
the
for primary
patient other conditions improved. After a period of NPWT, you can take the patient for abdominal wall closure, or you can do conservative, and then if the patient develops initial hernia, to go for repair with the initial hernia. So there are a lot of options for management of bust abdomen. While doing, you said you'll do the primary closure, taking the patient to the theater. During surgery, what are the two important things you should exclude before you close the abdomen? Two important conditions you have to exclude before you start suturing the abdomen. What are the two important conditions?
Sir, firstly, we have to rule out if any distal obstruction is present or not, and
Yes. So first important is internal obstruction. So you should explore the whole of the small gut and try to exclude any obstruction. On the background obstruction, if you close, it is going to burst again.
yes.
One is obstruction. Second is?
Answer the gut, if it is the gut is healthy or not, if the blood circulation is maintained or not.
Gut part is done. What else in the peritoneal cavity is important before you decide to close?
Sir, it should be tensionless. Sir.
No. Another important
One is
condition,
obstruction,
intra-abdominal collection.
Collection.
Internal collection. If you have pelvic collection, if you have paracollic gutter, you have subphrenic collection. If you close patient labs, again have dehiscence. So these are the two very important conditions where you should consider before you go for closure of the abdomen. Because these are the two important factors which can cause relapse of the bust abdomen. Okay. So once you excluded that, you go for closure. And then closure, as you said, you can do tension band closure, but you should be cautious that patient does not develop post-op internal hypertension. And other techniques of suturing. Other suture, you can do layered closure, you can use far and near suture, or
Yes,
you can reinforce the closure with a mesh, either a biological mesh or polypropylene mesh. So this is the surgical part. Not right?
These are the now the one thing is left. One question from the sirs, the discussion. I want to ask you, if there you cannot close the abdomen, that is, say there is a huge collection and you are suspecting there is some leak, but you cannot reveal it due to the plastered abdomen. So what now? What will you do? What is the most accepted method for these things?
sir, we will pack the wound and sir again review after 24 hours, 24 to 48 hours.
So one thing you can pack the wound. Next thing, which can be done, though it is very little done in our setup, that is zipper technique.
That is, sir?
If you are suspecting some zipper technique, zipper.
Oh, zipper, yes, sir.
Yes, that thing you can apply. And the last thing is I want to tell you that what we actually practice, that is the tension suture, it is least recommended nowadays. Best thing is to have the fascial closure properly. If you can do it, then should go for it.
Now, Ishita, you find the situation that this patient anastomosis has leaked and patient has got a burst abdomen. What should be the strategy? How will you decide to manage the patient? You on exploration find there is a wound dehiscence in the gut anastomosis. What should be done?
Sir, we will do one. Sir, we will take out the proximal end of the anastomotic site from the abdomen. We will make a stoma.
So
and,
one option is you will create a stoma.
Yes.
Okay. But I give a scenario: the patient GC is very poor. Patient GC is very poor, and patient is unlikely to stand a longer period of surgery. What can be the situation that you can do in this situation?
In that case, sir, we can re-anastomose and do a feeding jejunostom.
No. You cannot re-anastomose. Patient already had a burst abdomen and this wound dehiscence, and primary anastomosis in this scenario is not usually recommended. As I asked you, you said one is you do a stoma, accepted. Now I'm trying to say is patient general condition is not that good. So what are the other options? This is a situation of enteroatmospheric fistula.
Yes.
Enteroatmospheric fistula. So again, you answered it earlier. It should be a strategy for open abdominal wound management.
Okay.
Okay,
So
keep the wound open.
We will keep the wound open.
Keep the wound open.
Either with the
apply a wound manager bag. Apply a wound manager bag, and you can inspect and do daily lavage. So in a enteroatmospheric fistula, the primary closure is not going to take in a patient who is already having a compromised situation. Okay, stoma is one option, agreed. And second option is keep the wound open.
Okay.
You have sutured the wound, and 6 days down the line, patient has redehiscence.
The redehiscence?
Yes. How will you manage? Patient has got redehiscence after 6 days of your primary closure. Can it happen? Is there an incidence of redehiscence?
Yes, sir. It may happen, sir.
It may happen in a number of conditions like patient general conditions, your technique of second surgery. Okay.
And sir, any missed out collection, which increase the abdominal pressure.
So how to manage the redehiscence?
Sir, we will go, sir, here we try to go for conservative technique until,
Again, all depends on your reassessment. Because see, these radiations may be because of his straining factors. Maybe he has vomited because he has coughed violently and then it is dazed. So you have to reassess the patient. If other factors are conducive, patient has no intra-abdominal collection, patient has no intestinal obstruction. Okay. Otherwise, patient is stable. You can take the patient again and go for second attempt at closure. Okay. But if the local conditions are not conducive, if the local abdominal condition is hostile, it will not be wise to go for a second attempt at closure. You should treat this patient as open abdomen. Okay. So even in radiations, there is a role for another attempt at repair depending on the patient general condition and the local conditions.
okay, sir.
When you go for abdominal wall closure, suppose you are in emergency, you are going for abdominal wall closure. What are the different techniques for wall closure?
Sir,
They have made a long midline incision.
Sir, we do a layered closure or en masse closure, sir.
What is that?
Sir,
What do you mean by layered closure?
Sir, layered closure, we close the posterior sheath and then the anterior sheath and then.
You have made a midline incision. There is no posterior sheath. You made a midline incision. There is nothing called posterior sheath.
Yes, sir. There, sir, we close the linea alba, sir.
So layered closure will be, if you say layered closure, this will include closure of the peritoneum and then linea alba and then the skin subcutaneous tissue. That is layered closure. And what do you mean by mass closure?
Sir, we take, sir, we leave out the peritoneum, sir. We just close the.
Yes, peritoneum and linea alba in one layer and skin subcutaneous separate layer. Okay,
Yes,
that is mass closure. And then this is the mass or interrupted closure. When you take bites from the linea alba, what is the recommendation? What should be the distance of this bite from the margin of linea alba? And
Sir,
what is the distance of consecutive bites?
It is 0.5 centimeters, sir, from the margin of the linea alba and the subsequent bites, distance between subsequent bites.
So the earlier recommendation is 1 centimeter. Earlier recommended 1 centimeter. Now people are saying that it should be 5 millimeter from the margin of the linea alba and consecutive bite should be 5 millimeter. And as we already discussed, as per Jenkins rule, you should not pull the suture too tight. You should use at least 4 times. Now people are recommending 5 times. The Jenkins rule says that it says 4 times the suture length, the wound length. Okay, so that is the optimal amount of suture you should use.
Okay, sir.
What is the principle behind this? That is the taking bites in a distance of 5 millimeters.
Sir, it helps to strengthen the wound, sir.
Now, how? Yes, of course, it is for the principle is not surgical one, because one thing state that the local inflammation is actually around the 0.5 to 0.75 centimeters. So you should not take bite in between these areas. You should take bites beyond this area. So previously it was recommended that is we should take bite at least 1 centimeter apart. But nowadays it has been seen that if it is taken in 0.5 centimeter, it is enough. This 5 millimeters, sorry, it is enough. So that is to avoid the local inflammatory area.
Okay, Ishita, if I go to some point about the healing, you have sutured the abdominal wound. So you have sutured the peritoneum, you have sutured the fascial layer, you have sutured the skin. Can you tell me the sequence of healing of this wound? How this wound heals? You have opposed. So the wound margin is in opposition. So what is the chronology of this healing? How this healing occurs?
The first, the peritoneum heals, and then, sir, the skin, and then the fascia.
How peritoneum heals, how skin heals, how the fascial layer heals, at what time?
The peritoneum heals within sir 24 hours, and sir the skin heals.
How peritoneum heals?
Sir, the,
Peritoneum heals by mesothelialization.
yes,
These are
mesothelium.
layer of mesothelium. This starts in 24 hours and get over in 40 to 72 hours. So peritoneum healing is by mesothelialization. The skin healing is by?
Sir, skin healing is by the normal epithelialization, sir.
Yes, when it starts, when it gets over?
Sir, it starts at 3 days, sir, and it gets over.
You'll find most of the places people take the dressing out in 48 hours time. When you take the dressing out?
The first dressing we take out in 48 hours.
The skin, yeah, why? Because the skin heals by epithelialization. And this epithelialization starts in 24 hours, get over in 40 to 70 hours. So if the skin epithelialization is complete, there is no chance of outside environment to penetrate through this intact epithelium. That's why many people take the dressing off in 48 hours time. So the skin and peritoneum is healed by this technique. How does the fascial layer heals? That is a different technique or ways of healing of this fascial layer. How does this heals? You know,
sir,
wound healing?
Sir, by remodeling, sir.
By?
It takes time.
What are the stages? What are the stages of healing? The first stage is
inflammatory.
Go back to pathology. This is pathological aspect of wound healing. The first stage is stage of
the inflammatory phase.
First stage is stage of hematoma formation. Once you have opposed the wound, there is formation of a thin layer of hematoma in the wound edge. Next what happens?
Then, sir, after the vasoconstriction, sir, platelet plug formation occurs, and then
first hematoma. Next is what stage of
inflammation, sir.
Yes. What happens in this stage? What happens in the inflammatory stage?
Sir, in the inflammatory stage, sir, there is vasoactive amines come out, sir, as in sir, platelet derived growth factor.
There is infiltration of inflammatory cells, polymerphenonuclear cells in the wound margin, and other factors comes in. So this mononuclear cells from the blood, they changes to what? They changes to fibroblast. Okay?
Yes.
This inflammatory cell infiltrating in the wound is in the inflammatory stage, and this mononuclear cells changes to fibroblast. What is the next stage? What happens to this fibroblast?
Proliferative phase, sir.
Yes. What this fibroblast does?
Fibroblast,
they lays down collagen.
Sir, collagen type 3, sir.
Type 3, yes. So initial is an immature collagen, type 3 collagen. This fibroblast lays down collagen, which are type 3 collagen, and subsequently, next to this, what happens? This collagen.
So then we have the remodeling phase where collagen type 3 gets replaced with collagen type 1.
Type 1. So this is leading to a mature collagen. Okay?
Yes, sir.
And this mature collagen causes a solid union between these two layers. So these are the stages of wound healing. Skin, peritoneum in one mechanism, intimate tissue by different stages of wound healing. What do you mean by tensile strength of a wound? What do you mean by tensile strength of a wound?
Sir, the wound, the strength which the wound regains after an incision.
Definition. The strength which regains is not tensile strength. What do you mean by tensile strength of a wound? Tensile strength is a breaking force. Tensile strength of the wound is the amount of force the wound can take before it breaks. You understand? You apply traction either side of the wound. at particular point of this force, the wound will break. So the tensile strength of wound is defined as the force required, amount of force required to disrupt the wound. Suppose you have removed the suture after 7 days. Okay. Easily remove 7 or 10 days. Why? Because in this, at the end of 1 week, there is proliferation of this fibroblast and immature collagen is opposing the wound. Clear?
Yes.
Now, after suturing, but if I pull the wound, it will open up with minimal force. Clear? So now I ask you, what is the chronology? What is the chronology of regaining of this tensile strength? At what time the wound regains its strength? You have made a wound, you have sutured. At what point of time this wound starts regaining its strength?
Sir, the wound will gain its 60% strength in sorry 80% strength in 3 months, sir.
No, it's not so fast. The wound gains 50% strength in 6 months' time. 50% strength is gained in 6 months' time. And it takes about 18 months to regain the 12 to 18 months to regain the near normal tensile strength. Okay, so it takes about 1 year to gain the near normal tensile strength of the wound. Okay, see 80% is not regained in 1 month time. No, it takes a little longer time for the collagen to get matured, remodeling, and a solid union. Okay, Dr. Arko, any other question?
No, one thing I should add upon the tensile strength. Tensile strength is clearly defined as what Sir has told you, that it is the capacity of a trauma or injury to break the wound, irrespective of its dimension, and it's actually known as the load per unit area of the wound that can be taken by the wound. And all the things are same. What you have told is that initially, hence 1/4 of its tensile in 60 days. That is the optimum time for gaining the tensile strength of the wound back. It is 60 days, 25%. Then what Sir has told. Now, next two questions I am telling you just for practical purpose, that you have given the tensile suture. So what is the time when you cut the sutures?
Sir,
When you remove the sutures or stitches?
sir, in abdominal wound, sir?
Yes. No. Burst abdomen has been repaired by tension suturing. So what is the time when you think of getting the stitches off?
Sir, 3 weeks, sir, from the time of the tensions, means 3 weeks from the time of the repair of burst abdomen.
We should actually do that, and before that we should assess the wound again. Okay.
We should remove the alternate stitches and then.
And after having done all these things, what are the measures you should take, and what should you tell the patients when you discharge the patient to home?
Sir, we must ask him to be careful about, sir, constipation and chronic cough, and anything that will raise the intra-abdominal pressure, and not to lift heavy weights.
Is there really any role of abdominal binder?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir,
I don't know about recommendation. Sir can tell you whether there is any recommendation of abdominal binder, although we usually use it sometimes in heavy patients.
Yeah, actually, the basic point is you should avoid chronic staining factors. The chronic staining factors can cause wound disruption in the healing phase. So abdominal binder as such does not provide a lot of protection unless the wound is open. In open wound, you can use abdominal binder, but when the wound is healing, in that case, abdominal binder has limited role. Because as you take normal breathing, the abdominal binder does not restrict that abdominal movement. So it's a guard, but abdominal binder is not going to alter the chronology of wound healing and regaining of tensile strength. One has to take care of the staining factors. Okay.
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Ishita, thank you very
Yes.
much. Okay, so you should
Thank
go
you.
through the, you see, once you have a bust abdomen, the basic thing is patient evaluation and the management. Don't stick to one point of management, because as PG student, you should be going through the recent updates in wound management. Okay, so you cannot stick to one technique of wound closure. There are a lot of other options for wound management and the outcome of bust abdomen. And particularly the newer advent of NPWT is very important. You should know the basic concepts of NPWT, its role, how does it act, and again the technique of application also. These are being applied by the technical person, but as a resident, you should be also be conversant with how to apply a NPWT in a particular wound. Okay. Thank you, Ishita. Thank you very much.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Alko, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
বলো কি বলছিলে?